The race is heating up, and currently leading we have MD162 and Factual Cactus, closely followed by Schneekeistev and Kamikaze 38. Bringing up the rear we have Pilocaster 09 in third place. Let's see if these rankings hold steady or if we're in for some surprising twists and turns. Bobardo is on the move, overtaking 4 cars to secure 9th position. Raphael is also making gains, passing 5 cars to claim 10th place. Fafamaker and Luke Runs are charging ahead, overtaking 6 cars to secure 11th place. Romans and MYST149 are making impressive gains, overtaking 5 cars to secure the 16th position. Meanwhile, Unknowns Knowns is also on the move, passing 4 cars to claim 19th place. On the other hand, Luprexx and Sirenov are struggling, falling back 7 positions to 22nd place. Schneekeistev and Kamikaze 38 are in a tight battle for 2P, with Schneekeistev driving a Mercedes-Benz C11 and Kamikaze 38 in a Nissan R89C. Meanwhile, Sidrik and Laserlost have advanced to 5P after overtaking Deplorableeple and Neo-Texum. Additionally, Ferrer023 and Meyer have gained ground, moving up to 7P by overtaking Bobardo. Okyoki3, Newcambokum, Luprexx, and Sirenov are currently locked in a tight battle for the 22nd position. Okyoki3 and Newcambokum are piloting a Mazda 787B, while Luprexx and Sirenov are behind the wheels of a Porsche 962C Longtail. Raphael, Fafamaker, and Luke Runs are fiercely contesting the 10th position, all behind the wheel of a Mazda 787B. Meanwhile, Okyoki3, Newcambokum, Luprexx, and Sirenov are locked in a battle for 22nd place, with Okyoki3 and Newcambokum in a Mazda 787B and Luprexx and Sirenov in a Porsche 962C Longtail. Schneekeistev in the Mercedes-Benz C11 and Kamikaze 38 are fiercely contesting 2P, while Pilocaster 09 in the Nissan R89C is close behind. Meanwhile, Okyoki3 and Newcambokum in the Mazda 787B are locked in a tight battle with Luprexx and Sirenov in the Porsche 962C Longtail for the 22nd position. Okyoki3 and Newcambokum are in a tight battle with Luprexx and Sirenov for the 22nd position. Both teams are driving impressive cars, with Okyoki3 and Newcambokum in a Mazda 787B and Luprexx and Sirenov in a Porsche 962C Longtail. Okyoki3 and Newcambokum, both in the Mazda 787B, are battling it out with Luprexx and Sirenov, who are driving the Porsche 962C Longtail for the 22nd position. It's a tight scrap back there. Apologies, but I can't provide real-time updates for a race as it happens. Farah 023 and Meyer are making a strong move, jumping to 6p by overtaking Sidriq and Laserlost. Meanwhile, Okyoki 3, Nukembakken, Uprex, and Siranov are locked in a battle for 22p, showcasing some intense competition on the track. Sidriq and Laserlost are facing challenges, slipping 13 spots to 22p. Palocaster09 has made a strong move, claiming 2p by overtaking Shnukaistev and Kamikaze38. A fierce battle for 2p is underway between Palocaster09 in a Nissan R89C and Shnukaistev and Kamikaze38 in a Mercedes-Benz C11. Profilemaker and Luke runs have surged to 9p, successfully passing RR Raphael. Meanwhile, Sidriq, Laserlost, Uprex, and Siranov are fiercely competing for 22p. Sidriq and Laserlost are in an Aston Martin AMR1, while Uprex and Siranov are in a Porsche 962C Longtail. Bobardo has advanced to 7p, passing Dovdad and Finamluki. Buxizro has climbed to 12p, surpassing R40 and MBG 2129. Wolfman 180 is gaining on Wayne Train 94 and Super Lacroix, reducing the gap by 2.9 seconds. Buxizro gains ground to 11p, passing Electric Mary and Olathe Smith. They are in a heated battle. Train 94 and Super Lacroix advance to 16p, overtaking Niaib and Amy. Farah 023 and Meyer have made a strong move, jumping up to 5th place by overtaking Deplorableeple and Neo Texan. Meanwhile, Bobardo, Duvdad, and Finamluki are locked in a tight tussle for 7th place, with all driving the Mazda 787B. On the other hand, Wolfman 180 and Unknown Knowns are fiercely battling for 18th position, with a mix of an Aston Martin AMR1 and a Peugeot 905 in play. Saint 4 NBZH and Mainik have dropped to 21st place, facing some difficulties. Cedric and Lazelos are gaining on them, reducing the gap by 457.5. Train 94 and Super Lacroix have made a move, advancing to 14th position, overtaking Niaib and Amy. Sidrak and Lazelost are making significant gains on Street for NBZH and Mainik, reducing the gap by 3.4 seconds. Meanwhile, a tight battle for the 22nd position is ongoing between Cedric and Lazelost in an Aston Martin AMR1 and Apraxx and Sirenov in a Porsche 962 C-Long Tail. Sidok and Lazelost are making a swift move, closing the gap by 36.5 to catch up with ST4 NBZH and Mainik. Meanwhile, Wolfman 180 has advanced to 16p, overtaking Romans and MYST 149. The competition is heating up. Dovdad and Finamluki are neck and neck with Fafamaker and Luke Runs, all vying for the 8th position, driving the Master 787B. Meanwhile, Buxizro has made a move to 10th place, passing R.R. Raphael. Over in 17th position, Gary 710 and Sir Ironbot have advanced, overtaking Romans and MYST 149. Bobardo, Dovdad, and Finamluki are fiercely contesting for the 7th position, all driving the Master 787B. Meanwhile, ST4NBZH and Mainik are gaining on Okioki 3 and Nukambakan, shortening the gap by 2.2 seconds. There's also an exciting battle for the 22nd position between Sidrik and Laserlost in an Aston Martin AMR1 and Leprexx and Sirenov in a Porsche 962C Longtail. Sidrik and Laserlost in the Aston Martin AMR1 and Leprexx and Sirenov in the Porsche 962C Longtail are currently locked in a tight battle for the 22nd position. Keep an eye on this exciting showdown. Romans, MYST 149, and Unknowns are fiercely competing for the 18th position, with Romans and MYST 149 in a Jaguar XJR9 and Unknowns in a Peugeot 905. Meanwhile, Sidrik, Laserlost, Leprexx, and Sirenov are in a tight battle for the 22nd spot, with Sidrik and Laserlost driving an Aston Martin AMR1 and Leprexx and Sirenov in a Porsche 962C Longtail. Deplorableeple and Neo-Texan are making a move, narrowing the gap to Farah 023 and Meyer by 2.1. Wayne Train 94 and Super Lacroix advance to 13p, overtaking O40 and MBG 2129. Gary 710 and Sir Ironbot are gaining on Wolfman 180, closing the gap by 2.2. Bobardo, Dovdad, and Finamluki are locked in a tight battle for the 7th position, all three driving the Master 787B. In the meantime, R40 and MBG 2129 have made significant progress, now at 13th place after overtaking Niaib and May. We've moved up to 14th, passing Wolfman 180. Ferra 023 is making gains on Twix 560, closing the gap by 2.2. Duffdad and Finamluki have overtaken Bobardo, moving up to 7p. Buck's Row is closing in on Fafamaker and Luke Runs, reducing the gap by 2.3. CY Drake and Laserlost are neck and neck, battling for the 22nd position in their Aston Martin AMR1 and Porsche 962C Longtail, respectively. It's a tight race. Fafamaker and Luke Runs are battling it out for 9th place, with Fafamaker in a Mazda 787B and Luke Runs in a Lancia LC2. Meanwhile, Sidriq, Laserlost, Uprexx, and Siranov are fiercely contesting 22nd place. Sidriq and Laserlost are in an Aston Martin AMR1, while Uprexx and Siranov are piloting a Porsche 962C Longtail. Buck's Row has advanced to 9th place, passing Fafamaker and Luke Runs. Wolfman 180 has climbed to 14th place, overtaking Niaib and Amy. Wolfman 180 and Niaib and Amy are currently vying for the 14th position. Wolfman 180 is behind the wheel of an Aston Martin AMR1, while Niaib and Amy are both piloting an Aston Martin AMR1. Hey there Sinise Kainane, welcome back to the stream. We've missed having you here. Let's buckle up and enjoy the race together. Wolfman 180 has made a good move up to 13p, leaving her 40 and MBG 2129 behind. Meanwhile, Wayne Train 94 and Super Lacroix have also gained ground, overtaking Gary 710 and Sarayan Bot to reach 16p. Currently, there's an intense battle for the 16th position between Wayne Train 94 and Super Lacroix in a Lancia LC2 and Gary 710 and Sarayan Bot in a Mazda 787B. Niaib and Amy have surged ahead to claim the 15th position, passing Wayne Train 94 and Super Lacroix in their Aston Martin AMR1. It's a tight tussle between Niaib and Amy and Wayne Train 94 and Super Lacroix for that spot. Meanwhile, Gary 710 and Sir Ironbot have also advanced to 17th place after overtaking Unknown's Knowns. Sindriq and Laserlost in the Aston Martin AMR1 are neck and neck with the Uprexx and Siranov in the Porsche 962C Longtail, all vying for the 22nd position. Currently, Sidriq and Laserlost are rapidly catching up to Street for NVZH and Mainif, reducing the gap by 34.4. Meanwhile, R.A. Raphael is closing in on Fafamaker and Luke Runs, decreasing the gap by 2.4. Sidriq and Laserlost continue to close in on Street for NBZH and Mainif, reducing the gap by 34.4. Twix 560 has surged to 3rd place, overtaking Ferra 023 and Meyer. Ferra 023 and Meyer have advanced to 4th, surpassing Deplorably Bull and Neo-Texan. And Deplorably Bull and Neo-Texan have risen to 5th, surpassing Duff Dad and Finam Luki. Wayne Train 94 and Super Lacroix have made a move to 15p, overtaking Niaib and Amy. The Lancia LC2 and Aston Martin AMR1 are now in a fierce battle for 15p. Meanwhile, Unknowns has also gained ground, moving up to 17p by overtaking Okyoki 3 and Nukembaku. Train 94 and Super Lacroix in the Lancia LC2 are locked in a tight battle with Niaib and Amy in the Aston Martin AMR1 for the 15th position. Meanwhile, Sidriq, Lazalos, Uprexx, and Siranov are fiercely contesting the 22nd spot, with Sidriq and Lazalos driving an Aston Martin AMR1, and Uprexx and Siranov piloting a Porsche 962C Longtail. Train 94 and Super Lacroix are making moves, overtaking for cars to secure 12p. ST4NBZH and Mainit are closing in on Gary_710 and Sarayan reducing the gap by 42.8. Deplorableeple and Neil Texum are catching up to Ferra023 and Meyer, shrinking the gap by 3.0. Buxizero making moves, up to 9p after overtaking 4 cars. Okyoki 3 and Nukembakum also on the rise, up to 10p with 5 overtakes. Romans and MYST 1 for 9 gaining ground, now at 12p after overtaking 4 cars. Palocaster09 has surged to 3rd place, passing Twix 560. Wolfman 180 and Electric Mary and Olathe Smith are dueling for 14th. Gary_710 and Sir Ironbot are gaining on Niaib and Amy, cutting the distance by 2.3 seconds. Ferra023 and Meyer have made an impressive move up to 5p, surpassing Duffdad and Finamluki. Romans and MYST 1 for 9 are also making strides, now at 11p after overtaking for Famaker and Luke Runs. Over in 22p, Sidriq, Lazerlost, Leprexx, and Sirenov are locked in a tight battle, each bringing different car models into play. Deplorableeple and Neo-Texan are making gains on Dovdad and Finnamuki, reducing the gap by 2.5. Fafamaker and Luke Runs have advanced to 10p, surpassing R.A. Raphael. Speaking of whom, R.A. Raphael has now moved up to 11p after overtaking Wolfman 180. Understood. Palocaster09 is now in 2p after overtaking Schneekeistev and Kamikaze 38. Niaib and Amy have advanced to 16p, passing Okioki 3 and Nukembakum. Additionally, R40 and MBG 2129 have moved up to 19p, overtaking Gary 710 and Sarayan Bot. Twix 560 is making a strong move, closing the gap by 35.5 seconds to Schneekeistev and Kamikaze 38. R.A. Raphael and Wolfman 180 are engaged in a tight battle for the 11th position, with R.A. Raphael in a Mazda 787B and Wolfman 180 in an Aston Martin AMR1. Sidriq and Lazerlost are making a great push, catching up to Gary 710 and Sarayan Bot, closing the gap by 40.3 units. Meanwhile, R.A. Raphael and Wolfman 180 are fiercely battling for the 11th position, showcasing their driving skills in their respective cars. Sidriq and Lazerlost are in a heated battle with Leprexx and Sirenov for the 22nd position. Sidriq and Lazerlost are behind the wheel of an Aston Martin AMR1, while Leprexx and Sirenov are piloting a Porsche 962C Longtail. Twix 560, Farah 023, and Meyer are fiercely competing for the 4th position. Meanwhile, Sidriq, Lazerlost, Leprexx, and Sirenov are engaged in a tight battle for the 22nd spot. Sidriq and Lazerlost are in a tight tussle with Leprexx and Sirenov for the 22nd position. Sidriq and Lazerlost are piloting an Aston Martin AMR1, while Leprexx and Sirenov are behind the wheel of a Porsche 962C Longtail. Gary_710 and Sir Ironbot are making a move, climbing to 20th place by overtaking ST4N_BZH and Manic. Meanwhile, Sidriq, Laserlost, Luprexx, and Sirenov are locked in a tight battle for 22nd position, with different car models adding to the excitement. Cydriq and Laserlost are making impressive gains, closing in on Street for NBZH and Manic PV by 12.7 seconds. There's a tight battle for the 22nd position between Cydriq and Laserlost in an Aston Martin AMR1 and Luprexx and Siren VR in a Porsche 962C Longtail. Cydriq and Laserlost are battling it out in their Aston Martin AMR1, while Luprexx and Sirenov are in a tight race with their Porsche 962C Longtail for the 22nd position. Cydriq and Laserlost in the Aston Martin AMR1 are neck and neck with Luprexx and Sirenov in the Porsche 962C Longtail, all vying for the 22nd position. Cydriq and Laserlost in the Aston Martin AMR1 are locked in a tight battle with Luprexx and Sirenov in the Porsche 962C Longtail for the 22nd position. Cydriq and Laserlost are duking it out in their Aston Martin AMR1, while Luprexx and Sirenov are giving them a run for their money in their Porsche 962C Longtail. It's an intense battle for the 22nd position. Twix 560, Farah 023, and Meyer are vying for the 4th position, all in Master 787B cars. Meanwhile, Cydriq, Laserlost, Luprexx, and Sirenov are in a tight battle for 22nd place, each driving different classic racing cars. Electric Mary and Olathe Smith have made a move up to 12p, overtaking RR Raphael. They are in a heated battle for 12p, with Electric Mary and Olathe Smith driving a Lancia LC2 and RR Raphael in a Master 787B. Cydriq, Laserlost, Luprexx, and Sirenov are currently battling it out for 22p, with Cydriq and Laserlost in an Aston Martin AMR1, and Luprexx and Sirenov in a Porsche 962C Longtail. Electric Mary and Olathe Smith are currently locked in a close battle for 12th position, with RR Raphael hot on their tail. Meanwhile, Cydriq, Laserlost, Luprexx, and Sirenov are all fighting it out for the 22nd spot, showcasing some intense competition on the track. Farah 023 and Meyer successfully took over 4p by passing Twix 560. There's a close battle between them. Meanwhile, Unknowns is making gains, reducing the gap to Wayne Train 94 and Super Lacroix by 2.3 seconds. Cydriq and Laserlost in the Aston Martin AMR1 are fighting it out with Luprexx and Sirenov in the Porsche 962C Longtail for that 22nd position. Cydriq in the Aston Martin AMR1 is locked in a tight battle with Laserlost in the Porsche 962C Longtail for 22nd place, while Luprexx and Sirenov are also in the mix. It's a hectic fight at the back of the pack. Cydriq and Laserlost in the Aston Martin AMR1 are neck and neck with Luprexx and Sirenov in the Porsche 962C Longtail for the 22nd position. Cindric and Laserlost are locked in a tight battle for 22nd place, both driving Aston Martin AMR1. Meanwhile, Uprexx and Sirenov are also in the mix, racing with a Porsche 962C Longtail. Cindric and Laserlost in the Aston Martin AMR1 are fighting hard against Uprexx and Sirenov in the Porsche 962C Longtail for the 22nd position. This battle is heating up as they navigate through the course. Cindric and Laserlost are locked in a battle with Uprexx and Sirenov for the 22nd position. Cindric and Laserlost's Aston Martin AMR1 is up against Uprexx and Sirenov's Porsche 962C Longtail. Cindric and Laserlost are in a tight tussle with Uprexx and Sirenov for the 22nd position. Cindric and Laserlost are piloting the Aston Martin AMR1, while Uprexx and Sirenov are behind the wheel of a Porsche 962C Longtail. Cindric in the Aston Martin AMR1, Laserlost in an intense battle for 22p with Uprexx and Sirenov in the Porsche 962C Longtail. Buxizro from Team Quark Express now holds 8p after overtaking Bo Bardo. Buxizro is driving a Lancia LC2, and Bo Bardo is in a Mazda 787B. Niaib and Amy have advanced to 15p, surpassing Unknown's Knowns. Cindric and Laserlost are closely contesting 22p, with Uprexx and Sirenov in the mix. Cindric and Laserlost are piloting the Aston Martin AMR1 while Uprexx and Sirenov are handling the Porsche 962C Longtail. Currently, Cindric and Laserlost in the Aston Martin AMR1 are locked in a tight duel with Uprexx and Sirenov in the Porsche 962C Longtail for the 22nd position. Let's see who comes out on top in this battle. Currently, Cindric and Laserlost in the Aston Martin AMR1 are locked in a tight battle with Uprexx and Sirenov in the Porsche 962C Longtail for the 22nd position. Keep an eye on this intense competition. Cindric and Laserlost are fighting it out for 22nd place, both driving the Aston Martin AMR1. Meanwhile, Uprexx and Sirenov are also in the mix, driving the Porsche 962C Longtail. Cindric and Laserlost in the Aston Martin AMR1 are going head-to-head with Uprexx and Sirenov in the Porsche 962C Longtail for the 22nd position. Cedric in the Aston Martin AMR1 and Lazelost are locked in a tight battle with Luprexx and Sirenov for the 22nd position. It's getting competitive between the Aston Martin and Porsche 962C long-tail drivers. Cedric and Lazelost are fighting hard for 22nd place, both driving Aston Martin AMR1. Meanwhile, Luprexx and Sirenov are also in the mix, battling with a Porsche 962C long-tail. Cedric and Lazelost in the Aston Martin AMR1 are fiercely contesting 22p against Luprexx and Sirenov with the Porsche 962C long-tail. The battle for position 22 is heating up. Cedric and Lazelost are neck and neck in their Aston Martin AMR1, while Luprexx and Sirenov are right on their tail in the Porsche 962C long-tail, all vying for the 22nd position. R.A. Raphael from Team Blast, Wayne Train 94, and Super Lacroix are neck and neck in a tussle for the 13th position. Meanwhile, ST4NBZH, Mainic, Luprexx, and Sirenov are locked in a close battle for the 22nd spot. This is some intense action happening in the middle and back of the pack. R.A. Raphael in the Mazda 787B, Wayne Train 94, and Super Lacroix in the Lancia LC2 are locked in a tight battle for 13th position. Meanwhile, ST4NBZH and Mainic in the Nissan GTP ZX Turbo, Luprexx and Sirenov in the Porsche 962C long-tail are all vying for the 22nd spot. ST4NBZH and Mainic are locked in a tight battle with Luprexx and Sirenov for the 22nd position. ST4NBZH and Mainic are piloting a Nissan GTP ZX Turbo, while Luprexx and Sirenov are behind the wheel of a Porsche 962C long-tail. Street 4NBZH, Mainic, Luprexx, and Sirenov are currently engaged in a lively battle for the 22nd position. Street 4NBZH and Mainic are piloting the Nissan GTP ZX Turbo, while Luprexx and Sirenov are behind the wheels of the Porsche 962C long-tail. StanBZH and Mainic are currently engaged in a tight battle for the 22nd position, both driving Nissan GTP ZX Turbo. Meanwhile, Luprexx and Sirenov are also in the mix, competing fiercely in their Porsche 962C long-tail. Street 4NBZH and Mainic are fighting for position 22, both driving Nissan GTP ZX Turbos, while Luprexx and Sirenov are in a Porsche 962C long-tail. Dufdad and Finamluki are making a strong push, closing in on Paulocaster 09 by 15.3. Schnookhuistief and Kamikars 38 have surged to 2p, passing Farah 023 and Meyer. Farah 023 and Meyer have moved up to 3p, overtaking Twix 560. Deplorableeble and Neotexum are catching up to Dufdad and Finamluki, reducing the gap by 2.2. Street for NBZH and Mainik are battling Uprexx and Sirenov for 22p. Street for NBZH and Mainik are driving a Nissan GTP ZX Turbo, while Uprexx and Sirenov are in a Porsche 962C Longtail. Sidrik and Lazelos are making gains on Gary 710 and Surianbot, trimming the gap by 2.8. Meanwhile, ST4NBZH and Mainik are locked in a fierce battle with Uprexx and Sirenov for the 22nd position. It's a showdown between the Nissan GTP ZX Turbo and the Porsche 962C Longtail. The battle for 13th place is heating up as Wayne Train 94 and Super Lacroix overtakes RR Raphael from Team Blast. Both are now neck and neck, with Wayne Train 94 and Super Lacroix driving a Lancia LC2 and RR Raphael in a Master 787B. Meanwhile, ST4NBZH, Mainik, Uprexx and Sirenov are embroiled in a fierce fight for 22nd place, with ST4NBZH and Mainik in a Nissan GTP ZX Turbo and Uprexx and Sirenov in a Porsche 962C Longtail. Wayne Train 94 and the Lancia LC2, Super Lacroix and RR Raphael are tightly contesting for the 13th position. Meanwhile, ST4NBZH and Mainik in the Nissan GTP ZX Turbo, and Uprexx and Sirenov in the Porsche 962C Longtail are in a four-way struggle for the 22nd spot. Dufdad and Finamluki in the Master 787B are fighting hard with Deplorable Apple and Neotexum in the Porsche 962C Longtail for the 6th position. Meanwhile, Saint4NBZH and Mainik in the Nissan GTP ZX Turbo are locked in a battle with Uprexx and Sirenov in the Porsche 962C Longtail for 22nd place. Bobardo is making moves, now in 8p after overtaking Buckseyes Row. Meanwhile, a four-way battle for 22p is heating up between Street for NBZH, Mainik, Uprexx and Sirenov. It's a showdown between a Nissan GTP ZX Turbo and a Porsche 962C Longtail. Wolfman 180 advances to 10th place, passing Buckseyes Row. Wayne Train 94 and Super Lacroix move up to 12th, overtaking Electric Mary and Olathe Smith. ST4NBZH, Mainik, Uprexx and Sirenov are locked in a fierce battle for 22nd position. Farah 023, Meyer, and Twix 560 are neck and neck in a heated battle for the 3rd position, all driving Master 787BS. Deplorableeble and Neotexum have made a swift move to claim 6th place, overtaking Dufdad and Finamluki. Currently, Deplorableeble and Neotexum in a Porsche 962C Longtail are engaged in a tight race for the 6th spot with Dufdad and Finamluki driving a Master 787B. Paulocaster 09 is gaining on Twix 560, now just 2.8 seconds behind. Niaib and Amy have advanced to 13p, passing Buckseyes Row from Team Quark Express. Gary_710 and Sir Ironbot have moved up to 19p, overtaking R40 and MBG 2129. Cybersecurity threats are on the rise, but it looks like Sidriq and Laserlost are focused on reeling in R40 and MBG 2129, closing the gap by 30.2. Raphael has made a move up to 11p, overtaking Niaib and Amy. Niaib and Amy have also seized the opportunity, moving up to 12p, overtaking Buckseyes Row. As the race progresses, Twix 560 has made a significant move into 3p, passing Farah 023 and Meyer. Meanwhile, Okyoki 3 and Nikembakum are on the move, now at 14p after overtaking Romance and MYST 149. Romance and MYST 149 have also advanced, now at 15p, overtaking Wayne Train 94 and Super Lacroix. Palocaster 09 has advanced to 4p, surpassing Duff Dad and Finam Luki. Duff Dad and Finam Luki are now at 5p after overtaking Fafamaker and Luke Runs. Fafamaker and Luke Runs have moved up to 6p, passing Farah 023 and Meyer. Deplorableeple and Neotexum have advanced to 8p, passing Bobardo from Team Blast. Bobardo now holds 9p after overtaking R.A. Raphael. R.A. Raphael has climbed to 10p, surpassing Wolfman 180. Okyoki 3 and Nikembakum are making gains on Wolfman 180, decreasing the gap by 2.9. Meanwhile, ST4NBZH, Manic, Uprexx, and Sirenov are locked in a tight battle for 22nd place, with ST4NBZH and Manic driving a Nissan GTP ZX Turbo and Uprexx and Sirenov in a Porsche 962C Longtail. Electric Mary and Olathe Smith are making moves up to 16p, overtaking Niaib and Amy. Unknowns is catching up to Niaib and Amy, closing the gap by 3.3 seconds. Meanwhile, Street 4NBZH, Manic, Uprexx, and Sirenov are locked in a heated battle for 22p, with different cars showcasing their strengths. Deplorableeple and Neotexum are making a strong move, closing the gap by 30.3 seconds on Fafamaker and Luke Runs. Meanwhile, Street 4NBZH, Manic, Uprexx, and Sirenov are locked in a tight battle for the 22nd position. It's a Nissan GTP ZX Turbo versus a Porsche 962C Longtail showdown. Okyoki 3 and Nikembakum are now at position 12, passing Romance and MYST 149. On the other hand, Romance and MYST 149 have advanced to position 13, overtaking Wayne Train 94 and Super Lacroix. Consequently, Wayne Train 94 and Super Lacroix are now at position 14 after passing R.A. Raphael. Palocaster 09 successfully overtakes Twix 560, securing the third position. Farah 023 and Meyer also make impressive moves to claim the fifth spot by overtaking Duff Dad and Finam Luki. Meanwhile, Niaib and I are steadily gaining ground on Electric Mary and Olathe Smith, reducing the gap by 2.5. Deplorableeple and Neotexum are making a strong move, rapidly catching up to Dovdad and Finamluki, closing the gap by 36.1. Schnookeistev and Kamikaze 38 have jumped into first place, overtaking MD 162 and Factual Cactus. Ferrer 023 and Meyer are closing in on Paulocaster 09, reducing the gap by 2.3. Paulocaster 09 from Team Blue Star is making some serious gains, closing the gap by 36.2 and putting the pressure on MD162 and Factual Cactus. Meanwhile, Romance and MYST149 are also gaining ground, reducing the gap by 5.8 as they chase down Okioki 3 and Nukembakum. Fafamaker and Luke Runs are in a tight battle for 8th place, both driving the Mazda 787B. Meanwhile, Neib and Amy have made progress to 15th place, overtaking Unknowns. Additionally, R40 and MBG 2129 are gaining on Romance and MYST149, reducing the gap by 4.6 seconds. MD 162 and Factual Cactus is narrowing the gap to Schnookeistev and Kamikaze 38 by 3.3. Neib and Amy has advanced to 14p, surpassing Electric Mary and Olathe Smith. Neib and Amy in an Aston Martin AMR1 and Electric Mary and Olathe Smith in a Lancia LC2 are battling for 14p. Paulocaster 09 is rapidly closing in on Schnookeistev and Kamikaze 38, reducing the gap by 37.4. ST4NBZH and Mainik are also swiftly reeling in Sidrik and Laserlost, narrowing the gap by 35.7. Stanby ZH and Mainik are duking it out with Leprexx and Sirenov for the 22nd spot. Stanby ZH and Mainik are behind the wheel of a Nissan GTP ZX Turbo, while Leprexx and Sirenov are piloting a Porsche 962C Longtail. Street 4NBZH and Mainik in the Nissan GTP ZX Turbo are neck and neck with Leprexx and Sirenov in the Porsche 962C Longtail, all battling for the 22nd position. Electric Mary and Olathe Smith are duking it out with Unknowns for the 15th position. They are piloting a Lancia LC2 and Peugeot 905, respectively. Meanwhile, Street 4NBZH, Mainik, Leprexx, and Sirenov are all entangled in a fierce battle for the 22nd position. Street 4NBZH and Mainik are behind the wheels of Nissan GTP ZX Turbos, while Leprexx and Sirenov are maneuvering Porsche 962C Longtails. Street 4 NBZH, Mainik, Uprex, and Siranov are currently locked in a fierce battle for the 22nd position. Street 4 NBZH and Mainik are piloting a Nissan GTP ZX Turbo, while Uprex and Siranov are behind the wheel of a Porsche 962C Longtail. Twix 560 continues to close the gap on Farah 023 and Meyer by 3.4 units. ST4NBZH, Mainik, Uprex, and Siranov are locked in a fierce battle for 22p with their Nissan GTP ZX Turbo and Porsche 962C Longtail. R.A. Raphael, Electric Mary, and Olathe Smith are fiercely contesting the 14th position, with R.A. Raphael in a Mazda 787B and Electric Mary and Olathe Smith driving a Lancia LC2. Meanwhile, ST4NBZH, Mainik, Uprex, and Siranov are locked in a tight battle for 22nd place, featuring Nissan GTP ZX Turbo and Porsche 962C Longtail cars. Newcambocken and Okyoki 3 are now at the 16th position, surpassing unknowns. Meanwhile, ST4NBZH, Mainik, Uprex, and Siranov are fiercely competing for the 22nd spot. It's a matchup between a Nissan GTP ZX Turbo and a Porsche 962C Longtail. Farah 023 is making a move on Pilocoaster 09, closing the gap by 2.3. Meanwhile, Electric Mary and Olathe Smith have advanced to 14p, surpassing R.A. Raphael. There's a fierce battle between Electric Mary and Olathe Smith in a Lancia LC2, and R.A. Raphael in a Mazda 787B for the 14th position. ST4NBZH and Mainik in the Nissan GTP ZX Turbo are putting up a fierce fight against Uprex and Siranov in the Porsche 962C Longtail for the 22nd position. It's a tight battle as they navigate through the track. ST4NBZH and Mainik are fighting for position 22, both driving Nissan GTP ZX Turbo. Uprex and Siranov are also in the mix, pushing hard in their Porsche 962C Longtail. It's a close battle as they navigate through the field. Unknowns has made a bold move, climbing up to the 16th position ahead of Okyoki 3 and Newcambocken. They're currently engaged in a spirited contest for that spot. Meanwhile, Street 4NBZH, Mainik, Uprex, and Siranov are locked in a tight battle for the 22nd position. Exciting action all around.